Welcome to It's Time, an in-depth look at understanding the importance of succession planning for your automotive business. It's Time is presented by Standard. Now, here's your host, Doug Kaufman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Kaufman with Shop Owner Magazine. For the past 6 months, Shop Owner and Standard have been presenting this multimedia series called It's Time. Throughout these episodes, we've tried to humanize the succession planning process. We've talked with industry experts and dedicated shop owners about the process of ensuring that your business succeeds even after you step aside. We've talked about the how and the when of the legal, financial, leadership, and cultural considerations of the process. But I think today it's time to step back and consider the why of this series. To help answer that question, I'm joined by Aaron Schaefer, Director of Marketing Services with Standard, sponsor of the series. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Doug.
Explain why succession planning is so important in this industry and why Standard wanted to be part of the messaging.
Yeah, well, Doug, the reason we wanted to be behind this message with the force that we were in supporting this is we are an organization who cares deeply, deeply about the independent service provider and about their continued success. Ultimately, it is the independent service provider that is our end customer. That's who we focus on. And it's good business, but it's also the right thing to do to help to make sure that their success, that the next generation of independent service providers are successful.
Yeah. We're not telling anybody, hey, you got to close your business and get out of it now. We want to make sure that these businesses last long after this generation is gone.
Yeah, that's it. I think there's a lot of good young technicians who aspire to be a shop owner one day, and the more information that can be shared with the industry to help those folks with it, with that transition and become the next generation of successful shop owners is it's critical to the entire industry.
That's fantastic. Today we're bringing it all home with a conversation about putting your succession plan into action. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, you can see them again at shopownermag.com. Aaron, thanks again to you and Standard for helping bring this series to life.
Yeah, Doug, thank you. Thank you very much for what you're doing and getting this message out to the industry.
Now, enjoy It's Time, Episode 6. From your mother to your best friend to just some guys on the internet, everybody has an opinion about how you should start, grow, and eventually pass on your business. Opinions are like armpits. Everybody has them, and let's be honest, they often stink. So, rather than take questionable advice from random strangers or even well-intentioned relatives, many shop owners do what they do best: handle things themselves. After all, how hard can it be to take over or pass on a business? People do it all the time. Hi again, everybody. I'm Doug Kaufman with Shop Owner Magazine. Welcome back to It's Time. Naturally, you know the answer to any question that starts with how hard can it be will always be very hard. In this series, we, along with our friends at Standard, have been discussing the challenges of succession planning. Whether you're nearing retirement or have decades left, there's no time like the present to begin forming your exit strategy. Knowing well in advance what it is you plan to do with your business when you retire will help you get the business in top shape to garner that high selling price, as well as minimize the tax impact of passing the shop on to family members. It also makes it easier for your successors to have success and ensures you're prepared in the event of an emergency of any kind, should one unfortunately arise. I'd like to welcome my guest for the final installment in our video series. Brian Rex, owner of Fleet Service Auto and Truck Repair in Everett, Washington. You know, advice from amateurs is often best ignored. That's why I'm so happy to have an expert joining us today to talk about not only the best practices to follow, but worst practices to avoid with your succession planning. Brian, welcome to It's Time.
Good morning.
You know, your story is interesting because you've seen both sides of the coin, from taking over a business to now planning on passing it on. So take us back at the beginning. How was your initial experience? And how many years ago was it?
A little over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the initial experience was not what I would classify as a pleasant experience. It was a very difficult road to achieve the goal that I had set out to own my own auto repair shop. There was a lot of pitfalls and a lot of expenses and a lot of things that nobody informed me of or gave me advice or mentored me on. Hey, these will help you in pursuing your goal and help streamline things for you.
Very timely point there, because as you've gone into your current situation of where you have been planning for the next phase of your career and your shop's life, talk about the changes that you've been able to put into the process from what you faced originally.
Well, I think the first thing is that I need to be an open book for the people that are hopefully going to take over this business and take it to the next level. That I think is what we need to be. There's from insurances to taxes to banking to credit card fees, all of those things nobody ever told me about. So I wanted to make sure that the people that are going to take over, my managers now, if we can work something out, that that they know all this stuff up front, and there's no surprises or very little surprises. There's always going to be something that I don't hit, but I remember what I went through and the difficulties I ran into with things, and I want to make the transition as simple and easy as possible for them so that they can pick up and move on without any difficulties.
When you took over your business, were you involved in the business? Were you an outside participant in the industry?
No, I had started out as a technician, and I had worked my way up into, the store manager, the shop manager, and the owner and I had we had talked about selling to me, and so I knew that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do, and we finally worked it out. So I did end up purchasing it, but yes, I had managed the store for 7-8 years, I guess, before I purchased.
Sure. A pretty common story. The tech comes in, sees the manager doing the job. I could talk to the customers. How hard can that be? The manager comes in and says, I can deal with the vendors. How hard can that be? It's just that natural progression, right? There's just an easy process along the way.
Well, and I that most owners that have purchased from the previous owner will, their saying will be, I can do it better. I can make more money. Yeah. There's got to, I can make this so much easier, which is not necessarily true, but that's what we all think in our heads.
Yeah. So and of course, the the challenge of taking over the business is one thing. Once you get to the point that, okay, you are where you want to be with the business, you've successfully walked through those minefields. You've gotten to the point now where the business is running well. You're doing well in the community. You're doing well financially, personally, professionally. What are the steps that you think of to make sure that the next step, looking back, is easier for the next generation? What kinds of things did you learn that you want to make it easier for your successors to go through?
Well, I think one of them is that, I got with a financial advisor, and, we worked out a deal for a business continuation plan or a succession plan, so that, we have something in order that says, here's my mentors, here's the people that I trust, here's, my accountant, my IT guy, all of these things, so that everybody knows, hey, if something happens between now and the time they purchase the business, that they have all the information that they possibly can have, so that the transition will be simple and easy for them. So, that was a huge thing for me. And, there's, not only does my lawyer have it with, along with my will, which everybody should have, and, the lawyer has it, my key people have it, my accountant has it, things like that, so that everybody knows exactly the next steps. Not only that, but, the open book policy to say, hey, here's the numbers, here's where we're going, trying to communicate those things with the managers that are looking at purchasing this thing is, I want them to understand that, hey, when you have a bad month, this is what it looks like. When you have a great month, this is what it looks like. When you have an average month, here's the expenses, here's the things that you have to know going into that, and why.
Standard 100% all-new, never remanufactured electronic throttle bodies. Design improvements with upgraded gear trains for reliability. End-of-line tested and calibrated. What's in your box?
How much confidence in yourself or ability to be vulnerable does it take to make those things available, to be that open book?
It's horrible. I mean, I'm an extremely private guy, and what I make is nobody's business, and a lot of those things. So to be that open book has taken an awful lot of faith and trust in my people, that and it's been very difficult to do. But
Mm-hmm.
the only way that I feel that unless some mega corporation comes in here and buys me out, I feel that the best thing for me is for my people to take over, and without them completely understanding the process and what's involved and what it's going to take, so that I want to set them up to be successful. I don't want them to set them up to fail. Mm-hmm. So however I can do that is the most important thing to me. Is what is it going to take, so that I can make sure that if you don't buy me out completely and you have to make payments, I want to make sure you're going to make the payments.
Right. Have those efforts to get to this point, to make your books open and yourself open, have those efforts led to just maybe better shop operations in general?
Yeah, I think that everything that it's interesting, because both the two managers, they've kind of created their own spreadsheets to say, here's technician hours, here's available hours, and all those metrics, those key numbers that people need to know every day. they've created their own statistics and the things that they're looking for so that they can make sure that, okay, how can I turn this thing up to be more profitable? How can I get more out of the technicians, and be more productive every day? And they're doing that on their own. I didn't tell them to do those things. So, that's very encouraging to me that they're willing to take the time to do that and get a better understanding of business. And then not every week, but every couple of weeks, one of them or the other will come to me and say, hey, I got a question about this. How do we figure this out? Or how can I fix this? And so, being able to mentor them and teach them and talk to them about that is key. Otherwise, they can't be successful.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, in some of these interviews, I've asked people going through succession planning, if you could look back at the process and make things easier, what would you do? What would you change? In your case, you have looked back and made those changes from your initial experience. What are some of those things, some of those key points that you have learned that really have been things that you've had to adjust or wanted to adjust in your planning?
Well, I think that probably the first thing I can think of is that, when I purchased this business, there were some key man life insurance policies and things like that were tied to the business, and they went with the business. And, that was, going to be my backup plan as far as, in case I got got into hard times. Well, that didn't happen. So what I've done is, as soon as, anything that we invest in, whether it's a 401k or, some sort of a key man policy of some variety, that goes in the person's name, not the company's name. So that way, the money is theirs, not the company's. It just gives them that reassurance that they can and will have that available dollars if something happens, or if they go a different path, that money is available. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one of the harder things for me, was trying to get past that initial, oh boy, I don't have any money left. So, and I don't have a cushion. So that, the 14 to 18 hours a day, for the first year was pretty rough.
I bet.
I don't want them to have to do that. I want, we're a very family oriented business, and I still want my people to be able to have a family life.
Yeah. So key points maybe that no one told you, that you had to discover on your own. What are some of the points that you could make to our listeners of these are things you really do want to pay attention to?
Well, I think a lot of it is the things that you as the owner can control. One of the things that nobody told me about was vendor discounts, being able to reach out, and discuss that with your vendor. If you pay by the 10th, you get, in some cases you get 2% back or off your bill. Well, nobody told me that. And being able to negotiate with your vendor to say, hey, if I pay by the 5th, can I get 3% off? And there has been several of those that we've been able to do that with. And, I know 1% doesn't sound like much, but, on a $10,000 bill, it's, sure. It's $100. So, it's not nothing.
Absolutely.
So, and in business, it's all about, numbers. Making sure you have a really, really good accountant that, is willing, that has the same mindset that you do, that says, hey, I'm willing to dabble in the gray area. I want to stay out of the red. I want to be in the black. It needs to be your morals, your values, your scruples. Your banker, you need to make sure your banker is on the same page as you are and is willing to help you when you need help or give you advice when you need help. I really think one of the key things was finding a mentor, a business mentor, whether it's a 20 group or, a coach of some variety. That was crucial for me. Getting somebody that gave me real advice. I had thought that the previous owner would have been that guy, but he wasn't. So I had to go out and search out and find my own. And there are wonderful mentors out there. So you just got to find the guy that has the same goals and aspirations that you do. Being, your insurances, do you have enough insurance? Do you have too much insurance? Is your garage keeper's insurance where it needs to be? Things like nobody told me any of these things, so learning that information was, it took some time to be able to sort all this stuff out and go, oh, okay, I can talk to these people and I can negotiate with them in a lot of cases.
Blue Streak by Standard VVT solenoids. Stronger steel internal shafts for durability. Welded stainless steel oil screens for better oil flow. Industry-leading coverage. What's in your box?
And when you've come up through the business, as we said, you see things one way, and looking back, you realize I wasn't seeing the whole picture at that point.
Correct. I mean, and it's, it may not seem like a whole bunch of dollars, but, they're bottom line dollars. I mean, they're net dollars is what, when you have things that you can control, it's like turning the lights off in your shop before you go home. That electricity bill is something you can control to a degree. It's the same with insurance. You can negotiate with those guys. You can say, I don't want that much, or I want more of this. Find out what works for you and get in that number that you want.
And obviously nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, so you can't control everything, but you can control what you're doing right now and make things give things a better opportunity for success.
Correct. And, it's those numbers that are, every month that you can control, your insurance, your electric bill, your some of your vendors and that kind of thing. You can control that to a degree. Your internet. Are you have you searched around? I mean, have you seen what other people are doing for internet? A lot of those things that you can do that can help you get to that point. That, like I say, that the person I bought the business from had no information for me and no help for that.
Brian, as you do look back over the last several years, your planning process, how have your plans progressed or changed over the time, for your future?
They it seems like, every month they change. It seems like, I had a general manager in here that was, going to take over. Well, this January he decided that he wanted to go do something else and completely out of the automotive industry. And it's like, so everything has changed. Mm-hmm. We had set up an awful lot of things, a golden handcuff and all these things to be able to move to that next level. So, I think you have to be able to adapt in a lot of cases and, rotate your thought process as to where you want to go. And I think that there's so many options out there, but I think it really depends on what you have in your heart as to where you want to see your business go. Like I say, there's, private equity money out there. There's a lot of people being bought up by big conglomerations that if that's the way you want to go, you can find a way to make that happen. And, it just depends on where you want to go. So to me, the options have gotten a little bit more streamlined now. I think that the people that I am in discussions with are completely on board, and they really want to make this thing happen. So
that's great. The dynamic nature of succession planning really is something that a lot of people may take for granted, and the importance of starting at the right time and continuing the process is key.
Right, 100%. You just can't say I'm going to sell today or tomorrow, and and it'll be sold the next day. It just doesn't work like that. There's a lot that goes into it, and especially if you want the following person to be successful.
Which in this industry we want. There is no 2-week notice that you as the owner can give.
No. And like I say, that's kind of why I want to stress that, the business continuation plan for me is critical. So, how are you going to do that? It's to me, it's a big part of helping me to be able to sleep at night, so to speak. So,
right. Brian, your message was on point and very pertinent.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
It's Time has been a 6-part series on succession planning sponsored by Standard. It's intended to help you make sure your business is ready when you're ready to leave it. Throughout this series, we've addressed many different topics to help your business continue to be a benefit to your community long after you're gone. If you missed any episodes, you can find our previous conversations at shopownermag.com. Thanks to all of my expert guests during the series. Thanks again to Standard for sponsoring these discussions. An extra special thanks to Brian Rex for joining me today. Also, thanks to you for listening. Good luck with your operations. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for watching. For more information on succession planning, visit shopownermag.com. There, you'll find resources and links designed to help guide you on the road ahead. Learn more about our sponsor, Standard, by visiting standardbrand.com.